Welcome into an In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com. I'm Tom Leach, along with Keeneland's Director of Simulcasting, Jim Goodman. And on this podcast, we're going to take a look at the Undercard stakes races. We'll have a separate podcast that focuses just on the Kentucky Derby. But, Jim, we'll start with the sixth race. It starts the pick six. It's the Grade 2 Churchill Downs Distaff Turf Mile for fillies and mares 4 and up at a mile on the turf. And a really nice group of ladies going postward here. How did you see this one?
Well, I'm trying to beat Center Court. I like Center Court the last time in Jenny Wiley, and although she disappointed, she only got beat by 3/4 length. She finished fifth, but it was a tough group, and this group is a little softer, even though there's some nice fillies and mares in here. So I'm going to go with Center Court. I would think she's a standout, but I'm a little worried about the Jenny Wiley, that she didn't take over that race as much as I thought. I really liked her that day. I think you did too. The other horses that I liked in here, I'm going to key Center Court on top, and I'm going to try to get a price in the trifecta with I'm Already Sexy, the 6 horse. All since November, but been training well for Wayne Catalano. I really like Giroux, the French jockey from Arlington, and he's sticking on this filly who they really liked last year when she shipped down to Keeneland. Just didn't run very well in the QE Cup, and so. But I'm going to give her a shot here, coming off a nice little layoff. I'm Already Sexy for second and third, and Ms. Ida, the 3 horses, 2 for 6 at Churchill, Bridge Mahan, Margolis. So I'm going to keep Center Court over I'm Already Sexy and Ms. Ida.
I would have to spread out, certainly, if this were if I were doing horizontal wagers here. For me, Center Court's awfully hard to get past. She loves Churchill, 2 for 3 at a mile. Tapacat intrigues me a little bit because Mott's usually pretty good on these big days, and this horse has had 2 really good works, drawn well down on the inside. So what I'm going to do here is take Tapacat and Center Court and use them over 3 horses that'll be a little better price, and hopefully one of those 2 lower odds horses wins, and then a price horse gets second. And in the second hole, I'll use I'm Already Sexy, Ms. Ida, Absolute Crackers, and Coffee Click. But for the win, Center Court and Tapacat are the 2 I'd use. If you want to add one more, Ms. Ida, and I think if you're looking for a value, I think I'm Already Sexy is a really good place to go. But couldn't really separate the 2, so Center Court and Tapacat both for me. 7th race, Grade 1 Humana Distaff, fillies and mares 4 and up, 7 furlongs. And I did like one in here, even though Judy the Beauty looks so good winning at Keeneland. Midnight Lucky is the one I might single if I were doing a pick 5 or a pick 6. Try to take a stand with her. I think she's got big-time talent. I think she's probably using this to prep for the Ogden Phipps and the big Belmont Day they'll have in June. Working great for Baffert, and I just don't think he'd put her in this spot on Derby Day in front of this big crowd if she wasn't ready to roll. So I'm going to take Midnight Lucky, and I'm going to try to beat Judy the Beauty and use Scherzinger, Iatapa, and Speeding Through the City, all in the 2 hole, but keying Midnight Lucky on top. What about you?
Well, you stole my thunder. Speeding Through the City is my long shot. She likes Churchill. She's 2 for 2, and I think she's got a real shot at running them down in the stretch. And coming off those two good efforts at Oaklawn, and that form usually translates well from Oaklawn to Churchill. I'm not necessarily like her for the win. I like Judy the Beauty and Midnight Lucky on top, but I think Speeding Through the City is the key to this race. If she can get in the money, you can make some money with either Judy the Beauty or Midnight Lucky on top. I would take Judy the Beauty a little bit over Midnight Lucky, simply because Midnight Lucky hadn't been out since May 27th of 2013. So
that's a valid point.
Yes, yeah, she's obviously the most talented filly in here, but she may need one. So I'm gonna try to beat her and with Judy the Beauty, and then hopefully Speeding Through the City may sneak up and get second.
8th race, Grade 2 American Turf for 3-year-olds at a mile and a 16th on the grass course, and several horses that we saw run against medal count in the Transylvania that was moved from the turf to the Poly on opening weekend at Keeneland are in here. How did you see this one shaking out?
That's exactly why I took Woodfield Springs. To me, is a possible single here, because medal count only beat him by a length and a half, and he was coming at the end. They took the race off the turf, so it's a poly track race, and it was intended for the turf in the Transylvania, but Woodfield Springs was very impressive. Medal count went on to do well in the bluegrass and is running in the Derby. So I'm going to take Woodfield Springs for Rusty Arnold. I like the buyer progression from 66 to 82 to 91. I like a lot of things about Woodfield Springs. if he doesn't fire, the race is wide open because I can make a case for a lot of horses below him. Quotient, the 3, Ships for Santa Anita, gets Derby favorite Espinosa on his back. And I think the long shot in here might be Cleburne for Dale Romans. If you remember, Cleburne had a $900 exacta or something like that with smart cover back in the Iroquois for Dale Romans and Donegal Racing. They ran 1-2 that night. And Cleburne likes Churchill, been off for a while, had a little prep at Calder, maybe just to get ready for this one, the Calder Derby, and I think they're reporting to this race. So I like Cleburne a little bit as a long shot, but Woodfield Springs is my pick.
Yeah, I'm with you all the way around on that one. I like Woodfield Springs a lot. They wanted to run him in the Bluegrass. They thought that highly of him and didn't think they could get in, so they went in the Transylvania, and then it got switched off the turf. And I think this horse has some big-time potential. The only thing I don't like is the 11 post position, if he could get hung wide and get a wide trip. But in Cleburne is one of the ones I had written down as, that 30-1 price looks awfully juicy. Mike Smith takes the ride, which I thought was interesting. So I will key Woodfield Springs and use him with Cleburne, Global View, Picosa, and Storming Inti. But making Woodfield Springs the key horse with each of those. And in pick 4s, I'd use all of those probably I might do one ticket singling Woodfield Springs and then do another one using them all. Ninth race is the Grade 2 Churchill Downs for 4-year-olds and up, 7 furlongs. And another really tough handicapping challenge here. I ended up going to Central Banker. One of his best races of his career came at Churchill. Got a bullet work here for this, and if you throw out the last, he certainly fits at 8-1. I want to go back and look at that race again and see if I can make even more of an excuse for him. But I think at 8-1, Central Banker intrigues me a lot here. Got to use Shaking It Up for Baffert. Also, Broadway Empire intrigues me. Clearly now, I think it's a really nice horse, and I think 7 furlongs is right about his best. And then Sahara Sky I'd have to use as well, just on back class, although I'm still not sure if he's as good as he was last year yet. But Central Banker's the pick for me. I'll use him, key him in exactas with those other 4 that I mentioned. What about you?
Well, this one's a spread race, and it's typical because I've got a couple horses you didn't mention here. So I like Sahara Sky on top. He disappointed in the Grade 1 Carter, but he beat a number of these horses in that race, and I think he does have the back class to take the measure of this field. But again, if he doesn't win, there's a lot of choices here. I like Delani, 4-4 Churchill, including a 4-length win in this very race last year, and he's taken exactly the same prep schedule. So Delani at 7 furlongs is a nice bet, and you're going to get a decent price on him. I like Capo Baston, and that's one that I haven't liked in the past. But if he runs back to his King's Bishop, which is his last 7 furlong race, I think he's got a shot, and he's 10-1 for Johnny Velasquez and Todd Pletcher. Clearly, this is one that you spread in the pick 4, I think. I don't like Sahara Sky well enough to single him. I think the other horses that you mentioned have a shot. Clearly now was hyped in the Carter. I got a tip on him from Brian Lynch's connections, and he didn't really run very well in the Carter. He went off as a favorite in that race. So if he goes back to his last race before that, the Cigar Mile, he's going to be tough to handle. But I would go very deep in here in the pick 4. We got a single coming up in case you're wondering.
Yes, that would be the 10th race, the last one we'll look at on this podcast, the Grade 1 Woodford Reserve Turf Classic, 4-year-olds and up at 1 mile and an eighth on the turf. And Wise Dan, you are going to single.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm assuming it's Wise Dan, right?
I think so. The biggest shock to me is that they got 9 horses to run against him.
Yeah, that is a little surprising.
I was thinking this might be a real short field, like a 5-horse field or something, but they got 9. I think they're running for second place. I hate to say that. Kai Gun, the horse that finished second to him at 37-1 at Keeneland, you make a case for him. Mark Cassie's got him in the right way, and at 37-1 he ran second over the Keeneland turf in the Makers 46 mile. This is 1 mile and an eighth. I just think Wise Dan towers over the field, and the only horses I would use behind him are Kai Gun and Guy's Reward, who really likes Churchill 5-11 here. But Wise Dan is definitely a single in the pick 4. Having said that, if you can beat him, you can make a lot of money in the pick 4.
And I think I would, if funds permit, probably try to do that and use Kygan would be the other one I'd use. He's an improving 4-year-old, and Wise Dan's getting older, and eventually he's going to lose a step. Doesn't look like it's happened yet because I think he was short of complete fitness for that Makers 46 mile, so he ought to improve off that. But just as horses get older, they throw clunkers once in a while, and Kygan's an improving 4-year-old that you're going to get a good price on. And I know Mike Battaglia and I were talking to Mark Cassey in the paddock one day after the Makers 46 the next week, and he was just talking about how well that horse was training coming up to the race, and didn't know if they could beat Wise Dan, and ultimately they couldn't, but they just said he was, never been doing anywhere close to as well as he's doing now in his life. So I think I'm going to take a shot to beat Wise Dan with Kygan, just in the fact of being a 4-year-old, an improving younger horse. Wise Dan. Seek Again is the other one if you wanted to use a third horse in the pick 4 to try to beat Wise Dan. Seek Again won a grade 1 in his first start in this country and then hadn't been out since. But to come off a layoff and beat Wise Dan first time against 4-year-olds is asking a lot, I think, for Seek Again. So Kygan and Wise Dan exacta box for me. That's how we see it for the undercard. We're going to do a separate podcast, take a look at just the Kentucky Derby, and make sure you tune us in for that here on the In the Money podcast for KeenelandSelect.com.